Speaker, and also telling you a little bit about LOWLINC. LOWLINC is our area agency here. It's our organization, a nonprofit organization that helps seniors stay in their homes as long as possible. And we provide many different services, and like helping people with their transportation as they need transportation, helping people pick up their mail, their trash, friendly visits, lots of social activities, even come in and do some light home maintenance, those kinds of things. So I'm going to take my mask off so you can hear me, and probably Kelly may need to do the same thing. But I wanted you to know that LOWLINC tries to do one of these speaker series once a month. If you have any suggestions of speakers you'd like to hear, please let us know. And we're delighted to have Kelly this afternoon. Kelly is a professor at the University of Mary Washington. She's been there for 27 years now, believe it or not. She went to school there, got her undergraduate degree in chemistry, then went on to the University of Virginia and received her PhD from there in chemistry. And they hired her back at the University of Mary Washington. So she's been in the field of chemistry for quite a while now and just loves it. And she got interested in food nutrition and connecting that to chemistry. Of course, that's a major part of chemistry if you're looking at the science base, but she does a fun presentation, kind of really interesting, that I think you'll enjoy as well. She also heads up the honors program at the university, and we've been very fortunate in being able to get some of the honors students to come out here and work with LOWLINC and actually go into the homes or have a classroom setting for people to learn it's a sophomore student that signs up for it if they choose to work with an older person to help them with the technology, and that we put together a phone manual so that we have that in place that people can follow along to learn a little bit how to use their phone and to text and take pictures or whatever. So they enjoy the students, the young students coming out and working with them. We've also had students come out to do an oral history on a couple of our members. So we're very pleased to have that connection with the University of Mary Washington and the LOWLINC organization. So with that, I'll introduce Dr. Slunt, and she will continue with the afternoon.
Thank you very much. So would you all prefer if I take my mask off?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
We want to see your face.
I'm very used to lecturing with it because we still require them at the university. But as Emily said, one of my side interests is food chemistry. And I was fortunate about 10 years ago to teach a course, one of our first-year seminar courses on food chemistry. Since taking over the honors program, my teaching load is significantly reduced, so I haven't been able to teach this course. So what I thought we would look at a little bit today is looking at the science behind taste and flavor, and do a few little experiments that some of you may have picked up. There's a little sheet if you want to kind of follow along and do some of the experiments. And we tried to put a few writing utensils in the back. If you need any, raise your hand and we'll make sure that you get some papers. So we need a few up here in the front. We're also going to look at, the other impacts on your taste and smell and enjoyment of food, and then discover some food pairing. That's one of my favorite things, is to look at food pairing and why there are these reasons behind them. So just to start though, why do we have our senses and what role do they play in perception of food? And so first off, of course, is just to give us pleasure and reward. So enjoying our food, finding it very pleasurable, but also knowing if that food is safe to eat. So generally speaking, your senses could play a role in, is it spoiled? Is it, going to be rotten? Or is it going to be something I'm going to enjoy? But there's also other things that can play a role in terms of feelings, like eucalyptus vapors. If you've ever used like a cough drop, you can sometimes feel that cooling sensation that also comes into our sense of taste and smell. And then of course, like I had said, warning or danger, you know, burning smell associated with fire, ammonia, you know, sometimes they use that to wake people up, but that also has a burning sensation. And of course, we had talked a moment ago about spoiled food. So flavor, a lot of people think that flavor is only associated with your tongue and taste and your oral cavity. Now that part does, your tongue does play a role. So your taste is going to be composed of gustation, which is your taste buds, which we'll talk about soon. So what is detected on the tongue itself. But also tactile, so the feeling, how food feels can also play a role in how you perceive it. And there are some people who have tactile aversions to certain foods, so they don't want to eat really, you know, soft foods. Thermal, so whether it's hot or cold, that can have a different perspective on how you consume the food. Even just water, if you think about really cold water versus hot water or warm water, that has a difference in how you might perceive the beverage. And then pain, and we'll talk about pain in terms of things today a little bit about like capsaicin in your hot peppers, so those sorts of receptors that are in your mouth. But then also your odor, your nasal cavity is also going to play a really big role in how you detect food. And so the sense of smell, but also a chemical sense. So we're also going to talk about, again, this sense of how these molecules may trigger something in your nasal cavity. Consequences of loss of flavor, and I've had, when I've given this talk before, I've had individuals talk about this. You know, if you lose your sense of taste, you often then don't want to eat. You will either lose your appetite entirely and you know, basically reduce your desire to eat, reduce the food that you would consume. Which could lead to weight loss and malnutrition, or you may avoid certain foods, you know, depending upon what you lose in terms of your loss of flavor. Or for some people, you may just start doing compensatory eating all kinds of things, or adding lots of salt, or lots of sugar, or things that you might actually still taste, which, you know, could also have negative impacts on your diet. So just a quote that I often like to talk about with taste is not a single sense, not separate from its fellow senses, from aroma, texture, shape. The qualities of taste are intertwined, widely complex. Think about olives, so describe olives, cheese, apples. There's no word, no image, no simile will do for those foods. Apples don't remind us of fall. Fall reminds us of apples. So that's a quote from Sally Tisdale. So again, as I said, there's going to be these different perspectives of our flavor perception that we're going to look at. One is taste, and we will be looking at our taste buds and taste in a few moments. Another is aroma, so sensing that sense of smell and experiencing that. Nerve sensations, again, as I said, that's kind of your tactile, how things might feel, but also pain could come into a place there. Hearing and vision, your food is also as much as what you look at, as well as hearing it. So, you know, is it crunchy? Is it, you know, soft? You know, you may not have a sound occurring if it's soft. And then environmental conditions could be, you know, how hungry you feel, but also what's around you. Are there cultural events occurring? Is somebody eating that's causing you to want, you know, your mouth might start watering because you see somebody else eating, so environmental factors. And this is just a cartoon, so the nose knows. So there's two kids at school, and one says, "What's with the blindfold?" The other says, "Well, we're testing Nate. He claims he can identify any food strictly by smell." Sniff, sniff. Tuna on whole wheat with a slice of tomato. He's got it. Sniff, sniff. Ham, Swiss, and lettuce on a sesame bulky roll. Wow. With just a smidge of honey mustard. All right, here, try this. Sniff, gag. Ugh, this is foul. I have no idea. Are you sure this is even food? That question has been asked many times. This is why I never buy hot lunch supply, and it's today's casserole. So this kind of illustrates, though, the importance of smell, and also, like I said, in terms of how smell can often tell us whether we want to eat something, whether it's safe, whether we even think that it's food. And clearly, maybe today's casserole is not food. All right, so we're going to look again, as I said, in some of these chemical senses. So taste, when I'm referring to taste, that is going to mostly be coming from your tongue and from the nerves that are associated with the responses to your tongue. Smell is going to be when the odors get pushed up into your nasal cavity, and they are going to interact with the nerves within that olfactory bulb up in your nose. And then chemostasis is what we'll talk about later, but that's when your body responds to certain chemicals. So it's going to be chemicals bonding possibly to your tongue, possibly to your nasal passage, and having an impact. All right, so we're going to start with taste. And, originally they had just 4 major senses of taste. So starting with sweet, salty, sour, and bitter. Then they've recently added umami as well as fat. The sweet, you have receptors, so these things that look like a little kindergarten drawing. This is actually a protein structure that would be in your cells, and it's a receptor that is going to respond to the binding of a sweet molecule, typically glucose or sucrose. And so we have the sweet. Sour is due to a change in the acidity, and we, as chemists, we would measure that with pH, but there would be a change in the pH that could trigger a response. There's separate bitter receptors, separate salty receptors, and then, as I said, they have now started to find umami, and umami is a response to glutamate, and glutamate is an amino acid, so it's a common substance in high protein foods, but it's also found in things like tomatoes. So tomatoes have a high glutamate content. And a lot of you may have heard of MSG, monosodium glutamate. That is actually based, it's the same molecule. And it's used a lot in some foods to enhance the flavor, and what they're going for is to enhance that umami flavor. And so it's kind of that, you can see it with like mushrooms and cheese and steak. It's kind of almost a sense of protein, but really it's going after that glutamate. And then in terms of fat, they're not quite sure what is detecting the fat, but I like to think of fat as more mouthfeel, so that oftentimes, foods, that fatty foods leave you with a kind of a fatty coating, but you also just sometimes crave them, like, potato chips or something of that nature can come there from the fat. And so your tongue has taste buds, and there are different types of taste buds and different sizes of those sensors, and they are set up to detect certain tastes. So what we want to do is we want to have those taste buds be to detect them, but also the taste buds oftentimes are protected on the tongue by these little microphyllae, the little hairs that are on your tongue. And in fact, a cat has even more of those that we kind of see there. And as I had said, you know, these are proteins that are there that are going to get triggered by certain things. This is a lot of, I tell my students when I'm often teaching them biochemistry, I call this alphabet soup because you can see there's all kinds of letters and they name these things all kinds of things. But basically what will happen is they're going to get opened or triggered by you know, something, the sugar molecule, the salt molecule, that's going to then send a signal to your brain. All right, so what I want you guys to try to do is to kind of maybe do a taste bud map if you want to. So this is kind of our first activity. And you can see here that we sort of have a tongue. So you have kind of in the back, the far back of your tongue near your throat is going to be area A. Along the sides, further to the back is B, up near the front is C, and then on the tip of your tongue is D. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass around some Q-tips, and you can take the solution that's on the Q-tip and touch your different areas of your tongue. And record where you think the taste is most prominent. So if I give you a salty solution, do you taste it most in A, B, etc.? And then you're going to repeat them. So we'll kind of pass those around. And then I don't know if you all want water. I have cups. I don't know if the water in the back is safe to drink. I don't know.
It is.
Yeah. Okay. So we may want to get a cup of water to begin with. So if you don't have water, I'll give you a cup to get some water. If anybody needs any help, let me know. I can go get a cup of water. Oh, do you need a cup?
Me too.
Just two? Okay.
Cheers.
Can I help you pass out, Kelly?
Sure. Here's some cups.
After you.
Okay, you got water on my body?
You smell nice.
There's one for...
Yeah.
And one for...
Sure. I think there's two there. And then you can only do... Let's see. One need one. One need one. And I think here, I think we got everybody, I don't know.
Can I grab a paper?
A paper there, and a back table here.
Is that enough for you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so you may want one or two of the same Q-tips. So this is we're going to start with salty. So just take a Q-tip and you can put it on your plate if you want. And like I said, you might need two and then pass it so that we're not re-dipping. So you may want two of each Q-tip, just so that we're not, cross-contaminating the solution. And then you can start trying to test where you think the salty is on your tongue.
Oh, these have been, okay.
How do we identify them here?
You can put an X, so like if you think it's, A or whatever.
Take these.
Yep, just take them and then I was passing them if anybody else needed some. All right, did everybody get salty Q-tips?
I know, I go with D and then to C.
Wow. You get it more than one?
You could possibly get it in more than one. If that's the case, mark it down as all of them. just wherever you think they might be. Then if you need to, clean your mouth or anything, and then when everybody's ready, we'll start with the next sense.
Is there a correct answer? It says the strongest,
Well, you can do the strongest or where you think there are no, this will not be tested or graded or anything. Yes, all right.
But you're a professor, we expect a grade.
You expect a grade? All right, so now we're gonna do sweet. Now we're gonna do sweet again. You might need two, just to make sure that you have them. And then I'll bring, here, I'll take that one. There we go.
Does anybody need sweet?
We got food back there.
You have sweet? I have a real sweet cherry. I got it all.
All right, we've got plenty of sweets left. There we go. Anybody else need sweet?
Here,
Yep.
here you are.
Ah, okay. Anybody else need sweet? Anybody want me to bring the trash can around? Everybody good for now? Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Didn't do anything on
I
sweets.
didn't really tell her.
Maybe that's why I don't like sweets.
Good sweet enough, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't like
Mine.
these all green. Yeah, I did salt on the front and the back.
All right, are we ready for the next one?
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna do sour. So this is fresh squeezed lemon juice to do the sour. Sour.
Makes me pucker.
Sorry. Oh, did you need that one? There you go. Can you have another sweet? Absolutely. Oh, you're welcome, you can. All right, so then for umami, we use soy sauce, which will also trigger salty to some extent too, so it will kind of do both, but they kind of recommend the quinine. So the quinine is bitter. Which this also has a little bit of sweet in it because tonic water has sugar in it. So,
Oh, what is this? Oh, bitter.
Oh, that's bitter, this is, oh, that's both bitter, okay.
do you want a cup of it?
No.
I mean, you can take a sip of it that way.
I like it what?
Well, yeah, I don't have any gin to go with it, so.
Oh, now I can taste this.
I don't know.
It's almost like I don't taste the bitter
The
part.
bitter part, yeah.
I didn't taste anything.
All right, so originally, this is what you may have been taught. Some people have referred to that as the original taste map, where you would have sweet at the tip of your tongue, and that you would know would be something I want to eat. It's something that's good for me, it's something that's pleasant, so that's what they thought was originally where the sweet was. And that the sour and the bitter was near the back of your mouth to basically say this is something that might be dangerous for me and not to swallow it. But in reality, what they are now finding is that our taste buds are actually all over our tongues.
Yes.
And so, when you all were asking me, is there a right answer or a wrong answer, you may have been thinking about this as what we had traditionally always known, but they have actually now found that they are located almost all over your mouth. So if you are detecting it everywhere, then you're correct. So you all get an A if you wanted to know. So, any questions on that?
And if you're not detecting, is that an F?
So, if you're not detecting, that's an interesting thing that we will talk about, is some of these senses start to dull as you age. So it could be that you no longer have those receptors, possibly. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but that is one of the things that we sometimes see.
Yeah, because I realize I should eat less.
But if you're not detecting it, then maybe.
Yeah, because
It's-
I could taste it all, but this. But it makes me taste the bitter. Yeah.
Any other questions or thoughts on that? I just think it's an interesting exercise to do, to kind of look at where your senses are.
Yeah.
So the other thing where we want to try to detect is aromas. So we're going to try to detect aromas and determine what we are seeing there. So I have some chemicals that they're all safe. So that we are going to smell and pass around, and you are going to write what you think they are. So we'll start with A, and you can just kind of open the jar and smell it, and I'll start one back here. And so just open the jar, kind of gently breathe it in, and then close it before you send it to the next person, and write on your sheet what you think you're smelling, or if you can't detect it.
I know, get ready. Steak, lobster.
No, there's no steak or lobster. These are more, all right, let me find B. I will start with B now.
You want me to take it off?
Oh, I'll take that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Have you done this before?
I recognize the smell, I just can't figure out what it is.
Yeah, that also sometimes
I didn't
happens.
get anything out of that.
You know, my MD, I do. This is A? Yep. Marked.
I'm failing it.
So it could be anything.
I don't know what you guys see what you mean.
I have no idea.
I don't know what it is.
It's labeled on the bottom. Oh, this is canvas.
Flavors on the bottom.
No. I should have told
I feel like I should know what that is.
Yeah, I need all the clues I
Shut
can
it
get.
out. Yes. But I don't know what that is.
I'm gonna try it again instead of advance.
Do you want me to tell you? I don't
No,
know.
no.
Okay, hold on.
I had surgery on the inside of my nose.
Oh, I know what it is. We'll shut now. Was it that one?
And you have to whisper
Oh,
it.
that one I recognize right off.
Oh, yeah?
This is an easy one.
Okay.
That's all it has really good sense of smell.
So this is.
Probably one.
Can't get that one?
Oh.
I come up with this one here.
Okay, sorry. You know what that is?
If we can't smell, does that mean we're old?
It could mean that you're either older or that you don't have the receptors. There is one here that there are some people who never had the receptor for it.
Yeah. That can be, why.
Is this one more terrible?
Let's see,
Yeah,
actually,
none
that
of
was.
I don't know.
Oh, you're still looking for that one, don't you? And we can pass them back around if people want to re-smell something.
Is that B?
I have no idea.
Oh, this is the power.
I don't know.
I don't know what it is.
Smells like a rose.
Whoa.
Thank you.
Which one are you up to?
I don't know.
B?
C.
Oh,
Oh, that's
C.
C.
Here's D.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Whatever it
but
was,
C
I don't
is.
like the wrong over.
Here,
I recognize it.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
This one's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't bring it up.
Please tell me.
That's your problem. It needs to
I
be
only
under
got
your
one
nose,
Yeah.
not on the tip of your tongue.
I couldn't bring it up if I put it on the tip of my tongue.
Does someone want this blue one?
What letter is it?
A.
No, we have that, we have
Anyone
that.
want A?
Was that another one?
Anybody want A again?
I'm not
Sorry,
smelling it.
this one I almost think
I
I
didn't
know,
taste
but-
much, but I smell it, like,
Maybe.
I mean, that was first.
Yeah.
To mine when I put some first.
Yeah, this is another one that's from.
I have nothing for B and C.
I don't know.
So I'm
This
doing
looks
great.
kind
Well,
of
I'm not-
oily.
Anyone want B?
You're wrong.
Anybody want B?
I think, no, but I think he makes it.
No?
Once you said it,
Like some kind of oil. I'm going to say,
That's F.
I don't know.
You may try again. You can try any of them again if you want.
Can we put
Oh,
one
sorry, did I
down?
put it too tight?
yeah.
I was just resealing them, so I did.
No.
Okay.
Anyhow, I know, it is gonna make some of you
I think I'm
sneeze. I don't
allergic.
know. Oh, you're allergic? Oh, no. I'm sorry. Yeah, these are all things that are found in foods, so that's why they're like, yes.
Oh,
Oh.
wait,
I changed mine now.
Yeah, well, I want everybody else to think it is.
What was that?
Anybody else have any?
You're C.
Okay.
Hearing her.
Smelling the same to me, is that normal?
There are a few that overlap.
So then I got on top.
That's G again.
Chocolate?
No, I don't
Oh,
know.
I smell this pep on it, the swan.
I didn't know that.
She could be tricking us. It wouldn't be hard.
Oh. I think I know, I can't.
Do your students identify them more easily than we are doing?
I don't.
Some of them do, some of them struggle. So
If you went A,
actually,
B, C, D, I would
It's
know.
not always A.
no, it's not always age, but,
D.
and some of it is
They all
just,
smell the same.
I think we often have an association with a smell, but we know we've smelt it, but we can't place what it is.
Yeah.
Because I think some of them, you will, when I tell you what they are, then you'll be like,
Yeah, you are gonna tell us each thing.
no, I wasn't gonna leave it to. So is everybody, where are we in terms of, has everybody had a chance to smell all of them?
I haven't.
Did anybody miss any?
Huh, was there?
There was a G.
Is that G?
Here's a G. I've got a bunch of them over
Okay.
here.
G?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have that.
You want all those down? I didn't want to.
Anyone want E?
I only
All
got
right,
two
who
guesses.
needed G?
No, I just want to make sure I have it.
Done?
I probably won't get through all of them.
It seems to be okay.
All right, everybody, everybody good?
Are we finished with our plates?
No, I'm gonna feed you. So you need your plate for food.
I heard something about caviar.
Yes, there is caviar.
Really?
Yes,
Excellent.
yes.
That's the only reason you
All
came
right,
back.
so the first one is cinnamaldehyde. That is in cinnamon. So the first one that you should have detected is cinnamon. The second one is anethol, which is in anise or licorice, black licorice. So that is what was in B. C is limonene. Now, one of the things that I didn't show in here, these, by the way, are chemical structures of molecules. At this position here, the molecule can take on two different forms, much like your right hand and your left hand, and they can interact differently. And so the sample that you had was a mixture of the two compounds. One is found in citrus, so lime or lemon. The other is often found in some species of mint. So if you smelt kind of either the lemon or the mint for that sample, you may also notice that one, limonene is frequently used now in some of the more bio-environmentally friendly cleaners. So if anybody uses those, so you may smell that citrusy kind of thing.
I detected ammonia.
Oh, well,
I
but
just did.
that also, I mean, might trigger that because you're thinking of those cleaners that have that in them.
Yeah.
D is vanillin, which is in vanilla. That is what you would have smelled there. E is benzaldehyde, which is in almonds. So almond extract, or some, like, maraschino cherries, some people say they detect that, but that's what that was from almonds. Everybody okay? Did I go through too fast? Everybody good so far? All right. And F and G are again this sort of molecules where they have our right and our left hands. And I have to re-look them up because I always forget which is which. The R form, the one on the left, which was F, was spearmint. And the one on the right is caraway or rye seeds. And these are the ones where some people never can detect one of those.
What is G?
Caraway or rye seeds, so you would smell that kind of rye bread smell.
Okay.
Any thoughts there? Any questions, thoughts? And so again with this concept where I was talking about the right and left hands, the molecules, so if we see the way this is arranged in space, it could fit into this receptor, but this molecule that has the same shapes but they're arranged differently can't fit in. And so that's why on that previous slide where you have your kind of right and left hands, one molecule would trigger for some people, the other wouldn't, because it's two different sets of receptors and it depends upon what you have. And it's similar to kind of like, you know, your shoes. You really shouldn't put your right shoe on your left foot and all of that. They don't quite fit. So it's that similar sort of concept there. We call it chiral, which means handedness. But this is where I was saying, some of it is also age-related. So in terms of detecting odors, so the percent correct decreases very dramatically as one ages. And in fact, when I was prepping some of these samples, I went home to my husband and I was like, at first I thought some of them were maybe starting to go bad, you know, like the chemical, and then I was realizing, no, it's probably me, now that I'm aging and I'm not detecting them as much. So there is some component of aging with your ability to detect odors, which then, of course, contributes to your ability to appreciate and taste foods. Because all of these molecules are found in those foods. All right, so then the last thing, so we've looked at taste a little bit. We looked at our taste buds and we figured out that pretty much our tongue can detect these tastes anywhere, but some of you can detect some of them better than others. So some of you were commenting, you know, which ones you could taste better. Smell. Some of you detected things better than others. Others, you know, your brains think it's all one thing. And, you know, that may or may not be the case with your food. But then what about chemostasis? So this is kind of when we have a response to a chemical that's really not triggering our taste buds and not triggering our sense of smell. And things like capsaicin. So capsaicin is this molecule up here that's in hot peppers, and it triggers the pain when you eat something hot, and that's that chemostasis. That's actually triggering a pain response. And one of the things that, just so that you know, it binds pretty readily to that receptor, and then you need to get it kind of washed off of the receptor before the pain goes away. And it is not water soluble. So a lot of people think you can drink water, or they try to drink alcohol like beer or something, and it's actually going to keep it bound longer because it's not water soluble. So that's why they tell you to do dairy, like the sour cream or the milk, because it's fat soluble. So it would dissolve in those fat and get off of your tongue faster. So
I had heard tea will take it off.
tea will take it off, huh? I had not heard that before, but it might be the tannins in the tea that'll bind to it. So as long as you have something that could interact with it. Yeah. And the other reason why you don't want to do beer is because of the carbon dioxide. That gas actually also causes it to kind of stay bound, they believe, to the tongue a little longer. And so, you know, carbonated beverages are also not a way to calm down if you've had a really hot pepper. Menthol's also another one, even though we do also get somewhat of a sense of smell, but it's more of triggering that coolness, that relief feeling. Some, like sunscreen, if you got sunburn and you put some of those lotions on, they now have some menthol in it to help with that cooling feeling. So those are what we call kind of chemostasis, where your body is responding but not through sense of taste or sense of smell. It's through some other sense. And those are through our pain, and so within our bodies, you know, we can do heat, light, pain, cold, and so your tongue can also detect all of those things. And that's why often your food tastes different. I mean, you brought up tea. Hot tea tastes different than cold tea, even though it's possibly the same exact tea, but it's your body perceiving that, and that's again that chemostasis, that your body is detecting something different. All right. So, the other big thing, which is my fun thing that I like to play with, is aroma can play a role in perceptions of food, but also what we put together. And so there's a big area in food now, molecular gastronomy. There's even these restaurants that are devoted to molecular gastronomy. And you know, these chefs who are now starting to implement chemistry or science into their cooking. And there was a scientist who started looking at, so much like these chemicals that I brought in for you today, they were isolated from substances. So like this is the vanillin, which has been isolated from vanilla beans and is just the pure chemical itself. And they'll take foods and they'll identify what chemicals are in the foods. And there was this scientist who hypothesized that if the major volatile molecules in the food, meaning the odor molecules, so the things that are going to trigger your sense of smell, if those are the same and you eat those two pieces of food together, they'll taste good together. So that's what he decided. So he went to this database and he started looking at things, and then he started going into his refrigerator and pulling out different things and started this idea of food pairing. And so this was Francois Benzi who did this first. But there's now websites devoted to it. So there's a food pairing website, which we are going to try the chocolate and caviar, as it said in the things. But other things that you may not think about, you know, strawberries and Parmesan cheese, oysters and passion fruit, chocolate and onions, you know, things that you may have never put together, but because they share these same molecules, the hypothesis is they will taste good together. And then on this website, you can, you know, just kind of pick things and see if it's a good match. So for example, brie, they're telling you the best matches for brie are strawberry yogurt, a little bit with raspberry. So it tries to tell you some of the things that may actually pair very nicely together. And then they do all kinds of research in this. And so here is, you know, what could you pair with garlic? Clearly, scallions would make sense. They're fairly similar. But, you know, tomatoes, olive oil, black pepper all share very similar molecules in common. And so if you think about Mediterranean cooking, you know, that's something that would be commonly shown up in one of those dishes. And all kinds of, I mean, this is just a huge network of how you could maybe see things that might relate to each other. You know, and this is interesting to me that there's a slight relationship between olive oil and fruits. These are the bunches of fruits in here that they see some commonalities. And then they also just, like I said, tried to look at it in recipes. So, you know, Southern European, putting together the Parmesan cheese, the olive oil, the tomato, the onion, the garlic. East Asia, putting together the soy sauce with the garlic and the ginger, and starting to see some of these commonalities in there. All right, so what we are going to do is we're going to do our own flavor pairing right now. So, and what I will do is I will just try to pass around or come around with the food, and
Can I help you?
sure.
Is it just a coincidence that you should have the same last name?
Totally. I used to have the name of Tom. We both inherited our names.
Yes, I used to have the name of Miller. So, I'm married to Emily's son.
Well, I knew it was either daughter or daughter-in-law.
All right, I don't know if people want silverware. All right, and I'm gonna have you take, if you eat strawberries, take 3 pieces of strawberry. Because we'll need them for 3 separate things.
I'm not sure what you did.
It's whatever you prefer to do. So,
And we shall.
there we go, yeah.
No, we just didn't do the other stuff.
Okay. Oh, it's for curling?
Yeah.
Why did you mention my name?
I can make sure they're All right, and you can start by eating just a single strawberry and thinking about what it tastes like. And then I'll bring around the next items.
You spend the whole morning preparing for
I
this?
was just
thinking about that.
There's a lot of work.
Wow.
Strawberry.
Do you want a plate?
Carolyn needs it.
Carolyn.
No, thanks.
Strawberries, thank you, Kelly. Are we going to do these? It's interesting.
Did everybody get strawberries? Oh, I missed the plate.
Wow.
I'm going to freeze the strawberry.
Is there somebody else here?
No.
No? Okay.
Freeze well.
Everybody got silverware? That's great.
No.
It's getting right now. I had one right, one not so right.
Yeah, you did.
I can't remember what it is.
Okay. 2 of these. Just, make sure they have 2 leaves.
2 leaves? 2 sprigs or just 2 leaves
Just
on a
2
sprig?
leaves. You just need 2 leaves.
I learned that a long time ago.
If they get more than 2 leaves, it's fine, just as long as they
I
get.
don't think so. I think we're gonna do it all in these.
Celery leaf.
Something else with it. We're doing well.
Glasses.
That looks like some chocolate champagne.
It's hard to get.
It is hard to get out. The Mentos.
You want another
Looks
helper?
very pretty together.
Oh.
Stuck to my dress. That's the one sticking in the chair.
How do you eat these? How do you eat these?
Well, first you just eat each of them individually, and you can write on your plate. So we're just doing the strawberry by itself, the mint by itself, the parsley by itself.
All of the strawberries?
No, don't eat all the strawberries, just eat 1 piece of strawberry. This is
You have that in
mint.
your house, the mint, this is the celery.
Oh, no, actually, I didn't give you celery yet, that's parsley. I gotta get you celery.
Sorry.
So, parsley's later on the list.
And that's a fair.
Thank you. What did she say this was? Parsley. This is
Parsley.
parsley.
Oh,
Okay.
parsley is mint.
First one,
You
parsley.
need one of each
And
of
then
these?
mint.
Yes. But you need more than 1, you need at least 2, because we're gonna do.
Parsley.
Thank you.
weren't you
tasting
gonna
it.
they weren't you tasting it?
I said, yes, I can taste it once I bit it.
Wow, that's strong.
And this part,
Not for me. Yeah, that's. Yeah.
Okay, so you now have strawberry, parsley, mint so far. And you can taste each of those by themselves, but please make sure that you keep, you know, some for the pairing. Where is the celery? And then Emily's gonna bring you by the celery, which I had forgotten to bring by.
Whoops, I'm trying to try that again. I won't play that.
Wow.
No.
Nope.
No.
Sorry. Parmesan cheese?
Sure.
Parmesan cheese?
okay.
We can do a couple. This is celery.
Parmesan?
What was the last one then?
That was,
Parsley. Parsley.
Parsley.
I passed it out order.
Sorry.
It's on the back.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I see, and then you go.
Parmesan okay?
Yeah. Exciting, thank you.
Parmesan?
Okay, so this is separate.
Oh, I see, okay. What's your description of just the individual and then what are they together? Interesting.
Parmesan?
Now this is.
Celery.
Again.
Okay.
I think I moved the trash can in front. Here, I have it in my hand. Yeah. Parmesan?
the first one was parsley.
First one was parsley.
Okay.
What do you expect it to
Yes,
say?
this is parsley, mint.
You never had one of these?
No.
Thank you.
Celery.
Okay, that's probably what.
Try to get you a good lunch.
I'm assuming you know. Blue cheese? Blue cheese? Blue cheese?
Now, are we still saving a strawberry for something?
Yes, you should be saving a strawberry. Nope, okay, blue cheese?
Strawberry and celery together. Strawberry and mint. It sounds good. You're tasting that together.
You can do pineapple. Blue cheese? Blue cheese?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That I can aim for.
Oh, yeah.
You're welcome. Blue cheese?
Just get one? I think so.
Blue cheese?
Just one pineapple.
Oh, no, two
Oh,
pineapples.
I'm sorry. Okay. Here we
They
go.
need at least two pineapples.
I didn't have any directions yet.
It's the thing that I want to do. Yes. Here we go. You're gonna have to show me how this is.
All right, honey? Honey? Yep, so then you can start if you want, you know, you can try these things alone and then paired as I put on the bottom of the back page. Honey?
Okay, strawberry, mint, and celery. Thank you. Strawberry, mint, and celery. Really?
Honey?
Oh, yes. Okay.
No, thank you.
Strawberry.
Honey? Honey?
Yes, honey. Okay, so we pair these up, strawberry, mint, and
Know if you're ready for
then
me.
we break down.
Should we just,
Eat it all together and try to experience it together when you're pairing them.
Okay, strawberry, mint, where's the mint?
And I still have to get you banana, I haven't cut the banana yet.
Strawberry.
Run away, honey, sorry.
Really?
Mhm.
I would say the mint is overpowered.
Uh-huh. Please do, yes. Rock them and
Sorry.
rock them. Yeah, that would be a big help, thank you.
I like strawberry, mint. Orchard, shoot.
Down on each
Parmesan cheese,
Uh-huh.
blue cheese and
Thank you.
pineapple. I'm sure that's good.
Parmesan,
Carolyn's doing the napkins. Anything else?
banana.
Okay.
yeah, these are.
We just need to slice it.
Yes.
Slice it out, 2 slices to whoever
Hi,
wants
how are
it.
you?
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Parmesan and honey.
Thank you.
I lick my fingers.
Okay, blue cheese and pineapple, never mind.
Caviar?
Okay, just gonna be so salty.
Pineapple and blue cheese.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Caviar?
Oh, yes.
Caviar and chocolate.
Caviar? Caviar?
Now we're gonna combine it. Strawberry, mint, and celery.
If they move, then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Where's the caviar going? White chocolate. Wow.
Oh, that's the caviar.
This is the
I
caviar.
like the banana, I mean, I like the.
I'll
You know?
try it.
Okay.
I'll try it.
All right.
I wrote parsley,
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
but the parsley is for presentation, okay, I think I used. Now, where are these eggs, are these little? Oh, and then you can.
Okay.
No,
Caviar?
you can do your own combination, that's what I'm doing. Oh, sorry. Blue cheese and honey.
Caviar?
I just, sure.
the way it went up?
I know, I do.
That was supposed to be.
Okay.
This is parsley.
That's parsley.
Blue cheese and honey is very, very wonderful.
If you need more of anything, let us know. Because I know I got, yep.
That's not bad. I prefer this, I like the blue cheese and
You need the flavor of its own.
Celery and caviar.
honey. Yeah, this salads, or you just put it on. White chocolate. Blue cheese and, oh yeah, blue cheese and strawberry. What? Oh, blue cheese and strawberry.
Blue cheese and Parmesan.
Yeah, blue cheese and strawberry.
What is this? Caviar and salmon.
Oh, this is white chocolate that I'm bringing
Oh,
around.
white chocolate, okay. Oh, this is fun.
Tomato and strawberry, I'm looking at strawberry
Yeah.
and banana.
It's like a treat.
White
That's one thing I'll tell you about.
Yes. I don't know what I
Did it tell us what to pair?
Yeah, it's on the bottom of the one page if you want, or I can tell you what to pair after I pass it all out.
my own scary.
This is white chocolate.
Okay.
So
maybe
go
I'll
with the caviar.
Yeah.
We have to pair
Yeah.
the combination of strawberry, mint, and celery.
Okay, so I think everybody has anything, but if you're missing anything, let us know. Oh, tomatoes, we've got the tomatoes, okay.
One thing. Yeah, the blue cheese seems to go in one. Yep.
No tomatoes?
Where does tomatoes go with?
With the strawberry.
Tomatoes and,
Wait, with cheese.
tomatoes and strawberries?
Tomatoes and strawberries.
Running out of,
I think. I don't even know if I knew what kind of it is like.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes to strawberry. Okay, thank you.
Strawberry.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put everything together.
Oops, no, it's falling in any direction.
Combination.
No, you're not handing anything in, it's just for you to take.
Graded?
No, I'm not grading. I'm on summer break, I'm not grading. Anybody need anything else, like you wanted to try a different pairing?
I need some caviar.
You need some caviar, okay? You're welcome. Anybody else need anything? So the recommended pairings that came from this website was the strawberry, mint, and celery leaf, Parmesan cheese and honey, blue cheese and pineapple, banana and parsley,
yes.
tomato and strawberry, and then as advertised, white chocolate and caviar. And they share a chemical in common that is not, I mean, I heard you say the salty and sweet, which gets at our taste buds, but in terms of the odor molecules, they share a compound in common. And then if you wanted to try your own combinations of
Strawberry and pineapple. With strawberry and
Legit.
banana.
What did you have, blue cheese and what? couldn't eat the mint by itself, I had to spit it out,
Yeah.
it was terrible.
Terrible.
But with the strawberry and the celery, it was enjoyable.
It was enjoyable.
And it had a nice mint aftertaste.
Rather than overpowering. That's interesting. Yeah. No, and that's why I have you do them separate and then together to kind of see the experience. They share an aromatic compound together. I forgot to write down all of the different chemicals, but that's an interesting observation. Yeah.
I found the same thing.
The same thing. You found that you didn't like the mint. Huh? Yeah.
Strawberry was sweet.
And you thought the mint alone was sweet. So, you know, one of the interesting things that I discovered when I was actually putting these together, again, was looking at that limonene, which is in lemon and in mint, and that they share those together. My husband and I, my family, just got back from Costa Rica, and one of our favorite drinks there was limeade with spearmint. It's something they pair together, is they put a lot of spearmint in, and realizing I was like, oh yeah, they share the same chemical. And it's really a very nice combination, and it's very refreshing.
I thought banana and parsley each made the other taste better.
Each made the other taste better, yeah.
Oh, not bad, no.
You never would have thought, yeah, exactly. I mean, and some of these things you possibly do in dishes, like some salads and things, have these things together that you never thought about. But it is an interesting thing to put some of these foods together, and it's because they share these same exact molecules that makes your brain happy in these combinations.
Share the same molecule, see?
Tomato and caviar.
Tomato and caviar, was it good? Yeah? They both, I would imagine, have a lot of umami that's triggering it, as well as maybe some same aromatics, but, you know, tomato is very heavy in glutamate, so.
I'm finding that honey and white chocolate go with everything.
Honey and white chocolate and everything, yeah. That definitely probably could. All right, and then I have dessert for you. Yeah, I know, I'm sorry, I didn't bring it down.
Goes down the same.
It'll be a new period.
Oh, yeah, that first.
This does have sugar in it, so I don't know. I suppose I should tell everybody what's in it, even though that ruins the surprise. If you have any dietary issues that you are concerned about, let me know as I'm serving it to you, and then I will not give it to you.
I'm gonna sit down.
You're getting your body.
I don't need any more trouble.
Well, it's sort of. You can do gluten
I'm not reading it yet.
and sugar
Kiwi
and
fruit is my
cinnamon.
only problem. Delicious, thank you.
Kelly, if you need me to help, let me know.
Oh, I'm good. Thank you, though. I think this is a one-person job right now.
Yeah.
Banana? Banana, cinnamon,
You're gonna have vegetables? What about Mike, is he gonna handle that?
thank you.
He wants to do that on the grill, he's welcome to do that. You and strawberry, they're not gonna get it.
I think I lost part of yours. I didn't bring a spatula. I probably should.
This is how I serve.
Thank you. Wow.
That white chocolate was wonderful too.
Yeah, it was good. Oh my God, it's hot. Wow. How did you do that?
I baked it this morning and put it in my warming thing to keep it. Thank you so much.
It's pretty warm right now.
Oh, what is it, apple?
It is not.
It's not apple.
The strawberry celery in there.
Oh, you tried that?
I don't know what it is.
What is it?
Oh, did you want a piece of pie?
Yeah, thanks, Kelly.
No?
Rhubarb.
I'm making it banana.
What?
Banana.
You think it's banana?
Sure.
Banana and pineapple. We'll find out.
Oh.
Has some cinnamon in it.
Pineapple?
Cinnamon, I think.
You're right.
All right, everybody get a piece, that wanted a piece. All right, so we were eating the pie. What flavor is the pie?
Well, it tastes like an apple, but you said it wasn't.
Pineapple.
Pineapple, banana.
Cinnamon.
Cinnamon. It's what's called a mock apple pie. It's made out of Ritz crackers. So, no fruit whatsoever.
No fruit whatsoever?
No fruit whatsoever. So it's a little hard to read here, but it was a recipe that was on the back of the Ritz crackers in, let me see. I forget what year. Hold on, let me check my notes.
How could it be Ritz apple pie, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Just trying to find it in my notes when it was done.
Yeah.
Water, sugar.
Yeah.
It's.
It's,
Well, you said no fruit, but there's lemon juice and.
well, there's lemon juice, sorry. So there is fruit in it, sorry, but not, I mean, it's 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. And, no, I guess I didn't put in my notes, but it was on the back of the Ritz cracker box in, I believe, one of the world wars, when fruit was in a very low, that you couldn't get a hold of apples. And so it's made out of pie crust, 36 Ritz crackers that are coarsely broken up. You make syrup with water and sugar and cream of tartar. Cream of tartar to give the tartness. Then you add some lemon juice and lemon peel, and then top it with a little bit of butter and cinnamon. Put the other one on top and bake it. And it is a mock apple pie.
Now, what do you substitute for the crackers if someone's gluten intolerant?
I think you could probably find gluten. I mean, you'd have to do gluten-free crackers, I think, possibly. But you need them to be butter flavored, because that's what I think is the key to helping with that feeling of an apple pie. And then, of course, the sugar and the,
butter flavored crackers.
yeah. And I've also done this with my students, where if I didn't want to bring them a pie, we actually make mock applesauce. So you can just do basically the same thing. You mush up the Ritz crackers, you add the cream of tartar, the lemon juice, the sugar, and the water, and kind of make a mock applesauce. I mean, not apple juice, sorry, mock applesauce.
What does cream of tartar taste like?
It's very bitter.
It's a bitter?
It's have you ever tasted baking soda or baking powder, and that really kind of,
Tasted it? No, I
yeah,
didn't.
well, yeah, but it's that same sort of kind of taste.
No, it doesn't tell you how to make the crust.
Regular crust.
Just regular pie crust. I actually cheat and I buy the stuff. I buy it in the store now and just use that.
Pre-made crackers. Okay, I get
The
it.
crackers are the apple,
Got it.
basically. So the filling is the crackers. Yeah. So if you just Google Ritz mock apple pie, you'll find the recipe right away. It was originally on the back of the box. But anyways, it's again where, you're associating certain things with those senses that we've tasted, that we've talked about, the cinnamon odor, the tartness, the sweetness, the warmth of an apple pie.
How long do you bake it?
30 minutes at 425.
Really?
30 minutes or
4:25.
But that doesn't burn the heck out of the carpets?
No, I mean, you can see it,
Oh. I have to try, freeze it, right, I'm very surprised.
yeah.
Trying to see, we're all thinking it was a banana, is it
Yeah.
revolve, is it?
No,
Way to go along with fruit.
instead it's crackers.
It doesn't matter.
My grandmother once made a cake
never.
out of sauerkraut. And wouldn't tell us what it was in it, but because everything was so sweet and it had other stuff in it, I swore it was coconut. Because you ended up getting kind of the texture from the sauerkraut of that, but you never had the sour taste. So you never know what can be done, your senses of taste. So, that's just sort of some of the things, and then some of this could also go into, this idea of artificial flavors then also, that we could, spend tons of time talking about artificial sweeteners, a lot of artificial flavors. There's some I can't stand, and I think parts of it is because some of them associate with odors that I work with in the lab, like that fake banana flavor that used to be in those little like circus peanut things. I don't know if any of you all, there's some of those flavors that don't even identify with the real one. And so again, why would you want to make apple, cracker pie out of apples? Possibly, you don't have apples. There's a shortage of apples, or maybe somebody is allergic to them. I don't know. I mean,
You don't have to pare crackers.
You do not have to pare crackers, exactly. You also don't have to slice them.
Yeah.
You just kind of
Pour them or anything?
or anything. Yeah.
It works for me.
So, one of the other things I often like to do, I didn't bring any today, but I didn't bring any of this with me today, but it's something I thought I'd just kind of, end with and kind of talk a little bit about. There are these berries called miracle fruit. They are actually being now marketed a lot for diabetics, and you can even get miracle fruit tablets off of Amazon. Generally only Amazon is where you can get these. It's kind of ordered from the internet. They are a berry that's grown in a fruit in South America, and when you chew it, it lasts for about half an hour, and what happens is that it contains this substance, which is a protein, and what it does is if you're at a neutral pH and it's bound to your sweet receptor, nothing happens. But if you go to an acidic pH, it triggers a sweet response. So for diabetics that can't have sugar, they can have this. So for example, if you have a miracle fruit and you take a piece of lemon, it tastes like lemonade. It really does bring out that, triggering that sweet tooth. And when they first were discovered, which was probably about 12 years ago maybe, they had these flavor tripping parties in New York City where they would go on the rooftop of these bars and people would take these berries and then try to eat everything that they could and try to figure out what it tasted like. So, like vinegar tastes sweet, and it's really an interesting sort of thing. And like I said, it lasts for about 30 minutes while it's bound
But it has
to
no
your
sugar.
receptor. It has no sugar.
And it is a real fruit.
It is a real fruit. Yep. So it's a real fruit, and it binds to your sweet receptors in your tongue, but then when you eat something acidic, it tastes sweet.
So it only works with acidic foods.
Yes. Yep. So it has to be acidic foods and the miracle berry. So,
Yes.
Butter.
it's the oil. Yes, butter. It's again back to that mouthfeel. Remember I talked about at the beginning that we now have that fat. It has that mouthfeel, and a lot of movie popcorns use coconut oil. And so that is why it kind of has that, that flavor that craving that everybody wants, is because it uses coconut oil. Chocolate, we only did white chocolate, which of course is technically not chocolate because it doesn't have any cacao in it. But your chocolate can take on so many different flavors depending upon how it was produced. I had mentioned we were in Costa Rica and we were, fortunate to go to a chocolate farm and kind of see the processing and how they ferment their cacao beans, but other countries do them differently depending upon what the soil is. Your chocolate could taste grassy, but it could also have, pleasant taste as well. And then other things, of course, that you can get flavor differences is pepper. The white pepper bean, the peppercorns are a little different than the green ones and the black ones in terms of, again, their processing and which aromatics come out in those. Then I was just going to finish with some wacky foods. This is Romanesco. It kind of looks like cauliflower, but it's a different molecule and has slightly different flavor. This is if I want to get on my soapbox. A lot of things will say they're carbon-free, which it's not true because pretty much carbon is in everything except like water and air. It has carbon dioxide, but so if you see something that says it's carbon-free, that's baloney. I mean, because this is a sugar. So this is sugar, and sugar is each sugar molecule has 12 carbons in it. So there's no way it can be carbon-free. So just be aware of that, and then just end on something really silly.
I guarantee somebody will.
Yes, and it was sold as a gag gift. So it was actually manufactured as a gag gift, but dehydrated water. So, anyways.
I was just reading about an artist who sold an invisible painting.
Yeah.
For a lot of money.
For a lot of money, yeah. So anyways, you can buy dehydrated water. So, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Oh,
Kelly.
you're welcome. It's my
It was very
pleasure.
interesting.
Very.
Thank you all for coming, too.
Yes, thank you for coming.
So much fun.
Very interesting.